Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I am your host, but guess what? The other host is here.
Howdy, howdy.
He's Mitch Glenn, in case you haven't seen him in a while, because someone has to work.
Yeah,
and it's Mitch.
I'm still the lone tax keeper, I think.
That's
Taxpayer.
Right. That's right. And we are so fortunate to have. We are actually at the Catch, Clean, and Cook Adventures event that's happening at the hashtag 2025 MS Fish Camp, and we happen to have Craig Nichols here, who is also known as the Crappie Cowboy.
Yeah, thank you.
So he's here. He's been on the show before, but we thought, man, what a great opportunity to have you on again and talk about fishing, because here we are. We're in a different reservoir, and you're fishing, and you are catching fish. I was in the boat. You are catching fish. You're on them. And, just tell them a little bit about traveling and catching fish in different reservoirs.
Well, this is the first time that I've ever been to this reservoir, first time I've ever seen it. So did a little research on the lake, sat at home, got on my Navionics mapping on my phone, knew these fish with the weather conditions. We've had some late cold fronts, so I thought these fish would be staging up, early staging. They wouldn't be pushed back very far. So I looked for the deepest water in this lake, and there's one deep pool in this lake.
Yeah.
And we concentrated on that, and we started shallower and worked our way deeper until we found that key depth that we wanted to be in. And, man, all day long it was game on. We had to make some minor adjustments through the day with our baits, but once we got that dialed in, we were just whacking fish. But that's my main thing. I go to these new lakes, I get out my maps, and I look for key structures or elements that are key to the time of year we're fishing. If we'd been a winter pattern or a summer pattern,
right,
I'd be looking at something totally different for this lake.
Right.
Now, how fast do you think it's going to change this week?
It's going to change real fast.
Starting about 9 o'clock in the morning?
Probably.
That kind of fast?
We had a major cold front come through here. We had rain yesterday, fresh water in the lake. We had clouds all day today, still a little bit cool. We were still seeing fish that were starting to pull up into that 6 inches to 2 foot in the water column.
I watched the water temperature all day. It changed 1 full degree in an hour after the sun hit it.
Yep.
It will change that fast.
Yep.
We get a sunrise tomorrow. Man, 47, 48 degree water.
I'm hoping by Wednesday we can push into some of those deeper ditches going into the cypress trees and start doodle socking trees and forget about the live scope.
That's what I thought I could.
Fish.
I thought I could force that today, but I got out here with you guys to catch them.
Yeah, and you caught the biggest fish of the day today doing
288.
Yep. Amazing fish.
Yep.
So you guys are obnoxious Oklahoma people, pretty much, in my opinion. You're close enough.
Not me.
You were close enough.
Just married in. I'm married.
You married Okie. So
my daddy's an Okie. I guess it makes me half.
You see, told you. Shallow water. So when you're fishing shallow water, what are you looking for, Mitch?
I was looking for. I was looking for the cypress trees that were going to catch sun. The sunny part of that tree, because I really figured with the way the temperature dropped and everything that I would be able to get a bait in there. And I was using a bobber because there's nothing you can fish slow enough when the water temperatures drop that far. But I was looking for those fish to be where they had already got to and just basically dormant.
Right.
And to some degree, they're there. I can see them. They are on the bottom. And I actually put a bait on them and actually got some of them to separate from the bottom and look at the bait and just go right back to the bottom. I did that probably 50 times in them trees and never got a fish.
See, and when I was in the shallower water here, I was seeing a lot of signatures on the bottom. I knew were crappie.
Yep.
But with the conditions we had, I knew if I could find that water depth where those fish wanted to be suspended, they would be more active fish.
Well, that was the one thing I was missing, was anything that was not in contact with everything. I've seen catfish on the bottom up there. Everything in there was associated with the bottom. And if it separated from the bottom, it was for a second or two, and then it'd go back to the bottom. Mm-hmm. Even the shad. I went up in the deep hole up there, and it was full of shad. Mm-hmm. There were shad stacked so tight in some bundles in there that I thought it was a big crappie. I'd drop on it and it scattered. Yeah. But they were all about that far off the bottom. It's just wads of them. They never come up all day, and I attribute that to the fact that you couldn't see 15 feet until afternoon.
Yeah, we had real heavy fog today, cloud cover.
And how does fog play a part? When you go out there fishing in the fog, does that change your philosophy of how you're going to set up or what you're going to cast or what you're looking for?
It doesn't for me. I want to be more cautious of where I'm at on the lake for other boat traffic.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
But as far as my fishing style, them fish don't know it's foggy out. We do, right. And then it's like people, they get frustrated with the rain. Well, as a tournament angler and a full-time guide, we have to fish in it, and the fish are still going to bite.
Fish are wet.
They're wet. They don't know it's raining.
Right. I think they generally fishes better in the rain.
Oh, absolutely.
Most things do. However, the fog kind of got in under my skin today.
And I think it's more of a mental thing.
It absolutely was a mental thing because I knew what was going to happen when the sun come out.
Absolutely.
And I was just killing time till the sun come out. Now it's 10:30. Let's kill a little more time down here. Now it's 12:30. It's like it's still foggy.
Well, and the sun was supposed to come out about 10:30 today, and that front just hung around a little bit longer than they expected, and we were actually coming off the water before we really got any sunshine.
I know.
I was just like, oh, man, I want to fish, but we got all this
I told the guys in my boat today, if I could find some place where the fish were not on bottom and they were in the middle of the water column or higher, and the sun would hit them for 5 minutes, I'd catch a fish. Mm-hmm. And that's the first one it bit was at 288. And the sun had been, and that guy was like, oh, 5 minutes of sunshine and you did it.
That's probably one of those big fish we chased around and couldn't get to eat.
That's right. There was like 2 icons that were, and he runs his Garmin unit on icons. So in other words, images like icons. Yeah. So anyone,
he's got the emoji.
Yeah, emojis. They're like an emoji. Garmin version. The first time I've ever seen it in my life. So the ones that are not eating, they go by and they have a book. It's a book emoji.
I figured they had a zipper on their mouth or something.
And the ones that we could catch were the ones that had
looked like
a fork. Had a fork and a knife, and that was the emoji. And every time you drop it, they would. The knife and fork.
Yeah. See, Jackie didn't figure that out. He kept dropping on the fish with hooks.
This is what happened. It was just like he had turned off the screen or had turned the screen to stop sonar on a blank screen. And Jack would come up there and he'd go, there ain't no fish here. I mean, literally, because every time we turn the head another 20 foot, there would be a fish there.
Yeah.
So literally it was, is he big enough? And then pretty soon it became, is he really big enough?
Well, oddly enough, what I dropped on, that 288, and he was at 10 foot when I caught him. And I had the tip of the rod in the water. He was 10 foot down, 10 foot out. And there wasn't anything else there at the time. I was bored, and it looked like something that was maybe an 8-inch fish. Mm-hmm. It wasn't much. It didn't look much bigger than my bait signature.
Talk about those images that you see like that.
Okay, so like today, we would see a signature, and those 1.5 pound fish, man, they glow like a diamond out there. And I don't know what it is about these really, really big fish. We noticed it, years ago when we first started using live scope. It's almost, we call it a ghost image, but you can almost see through them. It's
almost like it's going to turn into shad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a real bright, hard signature back. And when you see that, you better get ready because it's going to be a giant.
Is that right?
Yes.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know, maybe because the air bladder and the tail and the head all give their own distinct image off a beam that's going, and so you're getting a strange bounce, and you're getting an image where the air bladder's hard, and then you're getting an image of that possibly. Let's talk about scents and using formula scents. We'll start with Mitch because you are the host, co-host. So we'll give you a softball.
Yeah.
Talk about do you use scents and when do you use them?
If I could have got fish interested in any bait that I had today enough to follow it any and they didn't take it, I'd have put scent on it.
Right.
That's when I'll use scent.
And then what are you using?
I'm using slab sauce.
Slab sauce?
Yep, from Crappie.com.
All right.
Yep.
And can you purchase that on www.PICOLures.com?
As a matter of fact, you can.
A shameless plug for slab sauce.
I believe in it so much, I carry it in my store. You thought I was going to say I bought the company, didn't you?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say why. But I thought so. How about you? We didn't use scent today, but there's also a reason why we didn't use scent today.
Well, I mean, I will if I can get a fish to acknowledge a bait. Right. If he noses up or he follows and turns off, that fish wanted to eat,
right? But
he didn't want to eat what I was presenting. So I'm either going to go up or down in bait sizes. I may go from a non-action tail to an action tail. So I may go to a spinner blade. I'm going to keep switching things up until I figure out what that fish wants to eat. Now, when I go to scent, it's when those fish are very lethargic. They're sitting there, and they won't move. They won't acknowledge the bait. They won't move. They won't do anything.
Right.
Then I'll go to a really small hair jig.
Right.
I'll put some type of scent on it. I drop it down and get as close to their nose as I can without touching it, and I'll hold it and hold it and hold it. And 9 times out of 10, you'll never feel the bite. You'll either just see your jig vanish off the screen, or if you see him move, you better lift. And if that rod tip starts to load, set the hook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, while we have both of you here, let's talk about lure color. And lure color was another thing today. Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
So we'll let you start, and Mitch can just chirp in later.
Yeah. We started off the day. I've gotten to where I use a lot of natural colors now. No matter what color water I'm in, I'm using blacks and grays and whites and, more browns, more natural colors, because with live scope, we've learned a lot of things. And I'm not saying color doesn't matter, because we proved today that sometimes it does.
Right.
Okay, so we started off with natural colors. We were catching some fish, but they were slow to acknowledge and eat the bait. I went to a bigger bait, kept it in a natural color. We got some better strikes out of that, but still we weren't getting the fish to act like they wanted to, and got to going back through my memory bank through past experiences. And cold water with cloud cover, I've done really, really well with a dark blue or purple with a hot pink. So we went to a purple and hot pink bait, big bait, with an action tail, and when we started pitching that bait, it was like you flipped a light switch. It was just game on all day. And I think the cloud cover had a big factor to play in that. I think tomorrow with the sunshine, I'll go with that same style of bait, but I'm going to go to a natural shad color.
Okay. Mitch?
So I ran the gamut in this up there today, because I could see fish, and I couldn't even make them acknowledge, other than get off the bottom and go back to the bottom. That's the only acknowledgement I could get. And I changed colors, and I changed colors, and I changed old faithful colors and bright colors and dark colors and itty-bitty little hair jigs, the whole 9 yards. And these are just dormant fish. I finally went to my Mississippi special, a chartreuse head, a chartreuse, orange body, and chartreuse tail.
Phenomenal Mississippi color.
This is Mississippi. Do as they do in Mississippi, right? I mean, that's like black and chartreuse on beaver. If you ain't got but one bait, that's what you use. This is Mississippi. So I got to using it. I brought it out here to this part of the lake, and them fish would acknowledge it in a hurry.
You betcha.
But they wouldn't take it.
Okay.
I had a fish. I put it down on his head, and he went whoop. Turned right all the way around, come back to that bait, followed it up a foot, and took off. Like, all right, dude, that pissed you off.
Now I'm gonna make you start using your brain.
Oh no!
This could take a while, or this could be a very short segment.
Okay, so basically, most of the wintertime cold water fishing, we're using small baits. Okay, when we get these hard freezes late in the winter, what does it do to our lakes? What happens?
Makes them cold.
We have a shad kill.
Yeah.
Okay, your smaller shad
Yeah.
are the ones that die off.
Right.
So all you have left in the lake
Is
are
big
larger
shad.
larger bait fish. Everybody's
I didn't
on
really think about that, but that is the move I made.
Everybody's on a small bait kick. If they're acknowledging those small baits and they won't eat them, don't be afraid to go to a 3-inch bait.
Well, that without having that logic, that is the move that I made. When that fish did that, and the next fish I pitched it to come up on it and then just swam off, I'm like, that was only 2 fish I needed right there. I have their attention, and that's the wrong color. So I changed the color, and I put a chartreuse head on with a white body and a chartreuse tail, and it was a 2-inch too. That was, first one was 1.5 inches. This was a 2-inch. The first one was on a 16th ounce head. This one's on an 1/8 ounce head.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be using a 3/16 in the morning.
Absolutely.
But it was a fat bodied 2-inch tube. So I've got 2.5 times the size of tube. And the first fish I dropped it on almost yanked the rod out of my hand.
They were choking it.
I mean, dude, this thing jumped like a smallmouth bass. Mm-hmm. It cleared the surface 3 times, shook its head, and this kid's trying to butterfly net it with my dip net. You know, it lit it up.
Yeah, I'm a big bait guy. Even before live scope, when I was throwing, and I don't know why I'm still not throwing them. I just got out of the habit. But 15 years ago, I was throwing a 3-inch Kalen triple threat grub.
Yep.
You know, big fat curly tail grub, and just wearing out the crappie with it.
I used to market a 2.5-inch crappie tube. You know, mainly for Grenada. Mm-hmm. You'd take it to Grenada and you'd pinch the middle tubes out of it, and then you have a 2.5-inch tube and a 3.5-inch minnow behind that, and dipping it on the stumps up at the top of the river up there.
You betcha.
Let's find out a little bit about where you guide at. Tell us the reservoirs that you guide and kind of the time of the year when you guide on them.
Well, I guide year-round. My main lake that I like to guide on is Eufaula Lake in Oklahoma.
Yep.
Phenomenal lake. In about 2 weeks of this weather changing, it should get on fire, and it'll last for 2.5 months. It'll be limits every day. I mean, it'll be like the fishing was here.
And the limit there's 33.
And 37.
37
per
that's
person.
Right. Yep.
So
whatever fills the white bucket.
Yep.
That's 37.
That's how they came up with it.
I'm sure they did.
It absolutely is. I've heard the story.
Yep. Yeah. 37.
So keep telling us. You follow up first, and then do you go to different ones?
I go to Hudson and Fort Gibson. Sometimes I'll fish Oologah, but like in the wintertime, I like to fish Fort Gibson Reservoir because we go up the river and we catch the really, really big black crappie.
Oh, yeah.
And that it'll still be going on probably for about another 2 or 3 weeks, and those fish will start filtering out back to the main lake, and we'll start getting the whitefish up there.
All right. Well, that takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time is sponsored by PICO Lures. PICO Lures has a complete line of hard and soft baits. And since Mitch is here, pick something out that you want to talk about.
Hey, let's talk about tubes.
Tubes, okay.
Yeah.
Tubes, sir.
There's a reason we have 27 colors, 3 different sizes, and 48 versions of jig heads to put on them. There's a reason for that. You should check them all out.
There you go. There you have it. Hey, if they want to get a guide trip with you, tell them what's your contact information.
Okay, my contact information, they can go to www.tccguideservice.com.
Okay.
They can find me on Facebook, the Crappie Cowboy Craig Nichols.
Okay.
Or they can call me at 918-430-6884.
All right, there you have it. Like I always like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.